Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the Breaking Butterfly podcast, or if you are new here, a very special welcome. I feel so grateful to have you here joining us today. This episode is, we're just going to dive right in. It is an interview / conversation I had with one of my very good friends, Jane Lyon, or Jane of 801 on Instagram. She is phenomenal. She is phenomenal. She's fucking amazing. I feel honored to even know her, let alone have her on the podcast. And I am just so grateful that I was able to bring her on and have her share some wisdom with you guys today. So I am still on a high from this conversation. My cheeks hurt from smiling. Like, I got off the phone with her and I was like, she texted me. She's like, no, I'm feeling so inspired. I don't know what to do. I'm like, I'm feeling so inspired. I don't know what to do with myself, because I'm just like on such a high from what we talked about. And you're going to get so much through this episode just about her journey and spirituality and just a lot of good stuff. I can't even explain it. So without further ado, I'm going to let you guys listen in on this beautiful conversation that me and Jane had, and then I'll catch you guys back here after the interview is over. All right, guys, my Breaking Butterfly listeners, you're in for a treat. And I'm not even going to start this introduction over again, because I know every single time I do it, I will just start laughing and giggling, literally out of pure joy, because I'm so excited to have Jane on my podcast. Like, seriously, you guys are in for the biggest treat. Jane Lyon is a spiritual coach. She is a yoga teacher. She is just a healer, a light worker, an energy worker, everything, badass fucking human being, and one of my really good friends. And welcome. She's here. Say hello.
I'm so honored to be here. Holy shit, I can't believe that I'm here. Yeah, I literally just listened to your last episode this morning on my drive into the mountains. So I'm like your biggest fan here on your show.
Stop. Well, me and Jane are like each other's biggest fans. She is like my number one supporter and internet BFF. When it's so funny, because we met not even through mutual friends or anything, just through like the internet, and she lives like in Salt Lake City, where I
We
used
grew
to
up in
live.
the same town.
We grew up like in the same town, had no idea who each other were, and then I was talking about like
Crazy.
raving to her, and she's like, oh yeah, I used to go to Sky all the time. And that is like literally where I hung out every single week, without fail. And
Which was like not my scene, but I had a lot of friends there. I had a lot of friends pulling me into the rave scene for years. And so as I'm hearing, like, especially your podcast with Henry, I was like, oh my God, we have crossed paths. This is so weird.
Yes.
So weird, because I literally searched in the Instagram search bar, confidence coach. I'm not joking.
Like, what?
That is how I found you. I don't, like, the universe has coincidences, right? Like, this is a perfect example of how there is such a bigger, higher, like, when I need something, I don't fucking search it on Instagram. But for some reason that day I did, and I found you. And you have done so much for me. Thank you so much.
Unreal. I think it's like a perfect example of like the right things find you when it's like time. It's kind of like you find a certain artist or you find a certain song or a certain book and you're like, oh my God, like this was in front of my face this whole time. Why did I never listen to this? Or why did I never like read this? And then you read it and you're like, oh my God, because if I would have read this or listened to this or watched this 2 years ago, or if we would have met 2 years ago, would we have the relationship that we have now? So I think that's so funny.
I know.
So fucking amazing. And I'm
just, now we're just besties.
Now we're just besties. I love it. I'm just so grateful to have you on the podcast. I have been wanting this for so long. I say that every single time. I'm like, I've been wanting to do this for so long. And 2021 has been the year where I'm just like fucking doing it. So today we have a lot to dive into, you guys. This is going to be like, I see it as like a part interview. Like I'm definitely interviewing Jane, but I feel like we're just going to get into it and just talk about a lot of things, have conversation about anything that spirit feels called to let channel through us. But I have some topics, some questions. And the first questions that we have for you, obviously, we just want to get to know you. I want to get to know you even better. I know you a little bit, but we want to hear, like, who are you? Where are you located? What kind of work do you do? What are you passionate about? What's your favorite food? Do you have a dog? I don't know. Anything you feel
Okay. The
anything
whole
you feel,
biography.
yeah, anything you feel inspired to share, just so we get an idea of like who we're listening to here.
Okay, well, I'm Jane of 801. My real last name is Lyon, Jane Lyon. And I grew up here in the mountains of Utah in a little tiny little bubble community called the Cove, Mount Olympus. Which is why we never met, because I just stayed in that little bubble for my 18 years. And I still live in Salt Lake. I did go to college in Oregon at the University of Oregon. So that was like one of the best things for me because, as you know, girl got to get out of Utah, find out what's outside of this place. It was so good for me. But I did come home and like I'm still in this like push-pull relationship with Salt Lake City, especially being quarantined here. But most of my in-person work that's not online is in the mountains. I was in Deer Valley this morning, Park City. You know, when Sundance comes around, I get all these fun clients, and I go to Snowbird to teach my classes. So it's beautiful and sunny today. So I'm just like, today I'm digging Salt Lake. It's where I live.
Yeah, I love that.
What else did you want to know about me? What do I do? Yoga teacher is kind of my first foremost. I teach yoga and meditation. That's kind of like my main mode. It's the main thing that I do. But I have been a Reiki healer for about a year and a half. And then that led me into becoming an Akashic Records reader. And right now, like my highest excitement is like doing these healing situations, right? I'm like being really vague, healing sessions with Reiki and with the Akashic Records, and just holding space for people one-on-one, especially online. It's been something that I've really grown into since 2020 started. And now I'm just cruising that way, and it's just feeling so good. So that's what I do.
I love that. So did you start by just doing in-person like yoga and Reiki and stuff like that? And just recently you've moved into like the online space and more like coaching and virtual sessions?
Yes. So the interesting thing about me is I started teaching meditation workshops first. I was not yoga teacher certified yet, but I kept getting asked to sub classes and to teach private classes. And it was one of those things where I was like, I'm not certified to do this, but you all keep asking me to. So, which I know that like, I'm a big fan of like doing what you have experience in.
Yes.
And then that led me to being like forced into going to do my YTT so that I could be more legit as a teacher. And my Reiki was all in person. And when the pandemic started, I was like, I'm not teaching and I'm not supposed to touch people. Like, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
And it was really hard. Like, it was really stressful. And I tried to steer into online, but I had no idea how. Like, I was so uncomfortable with it, even though like I have a strong online presence.
Yeah.
I literally didn't know what to do. And I think the fun part of that is that's when I was like, okay, I've got all this time off, unemployment coming in. I'm hiring a coach. One of my idols, her name is Sydney Campos. I just did one of the boldest things I did, like, hey, I want a discovery call. I want to work with you. I need help in my business. And her first meeting is an Akashic Records reading. And I was like, I don't know what this is, but I've heard her talk about it, and I know that's what she does. So like, let's do it. And that same week, I was supposed to have an Akashic Records reading. I heard my Buddhist teacher, my Rinpoche, start talking about Akashic Records readings. And then I hear it in like a yoga workshop. This girl's talking about it. So it's one of those really synchronistic things where I start working with her. She starts helping me strengthen my online presence, align my business. And then around the end of our container, she was like, I'm having a training for Akashic Records readers. And I was like, oh, I'm 100% there. Like it was like a full body, like, I'm
Yeah.
fucking, that's my next step. And that training showed me like we can be so strong online, and I can be just as powerful of a healer online than as I am in person. And
Mm.
that has been such a blessing of this last year because my reach is no longer just this little Salt Lake Valley.
Yeah.
It's all over the world now, and I feel so lucky for that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think maybe in a way it was almost like a blessing to be able to like push yourself to create that farther reach? Because if we didn't have the
Oh yeah.
pandemic, you probably would have just stayed in.
100% girl. Before the pandemic, I was teaching like 3 or 4 classes a day. Then I would go downtown and serve the lunch shift at a taco shop. And
Oh.
then I would go back up to like see a private or like I was so burned out and like trying to make ends meet and like about to lose my girlfriend because I was never spending time with her. And I remember
Mhm.
thinking like, this isn't how I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
And almost like, how do I make it stop? And I remember thinking that, like, how do I make this stop? Because I don't know how to get out of this. It was like I was in the hole and 20 classes a week and serving lunch shift is the only way I'm going to make it. And like, then it all stopped, dude. Then, like, literally, like, my prayer was answered and it was stopped.
Mm.
It was seriously huge blessing in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, so it all stopped, but you didn't stop. You just one of my favorite like quotes is pivot, don't pause, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
took the stop not as just like, oh, I'm going to stop everything completely. It just took you out of that schedule, that funk that you're in, that hole, and
Mm-hmm.
you decided, okay, how can I completely transform this so that it works for me,
Exactly.
which is
Which it
huge.
has.
Yeah, which
That moment was like, I'll never forget it. Like where I was, who was around, like every moment of like realizing everything, all my jobs are over. The most intense wave of trust came over me
Mm.
that I was like, I know I should be panicked right now, but I feel really, really secure about whatever is happening right now. I am about to be so taken care of and redirected. And I went into surrender and I went into what the Buddhist woman would do, which is sit down and practice and practice and practice. And I got really serious about just my practice and sitting down and creating prayers for others. And after that, I was just guided right where I needed to go. Of
Mm. I fucking love that. Wait, okay. So can we dive into that a little bit more?
course.
Word of trust. Because I think even right now in the world, there's like still a lot of like we're slowly inching back to normal. Like some jobs are coming back, but there's still so much uncertainty and like struggle to find jobs and work and all of this stuff
Mm-hmm.
and money issues. And I think a lot of people keep hearing people say like teachers or healers like just trust, just trust, just trust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I feel myself and some of like my clients or others just being like, okay, but like how?
Like, let's unpack that.
Like how do I actually trust? How do I actually
Mm-hmm.
surrender? And especially with this like balance of the masculine and feminine. So it sounds like you went deeply into your feminine once
Mm-hmm.
realizing all of your jobs were gone.
Mm-hmm. Oh
Most
yeah.
people most people would go into the masculine, into desperation,
Mm-hmm.
into like it's not time to
Got to
try
figure this out.
work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How, if you can even give us steps,
Mm-hmm.
how do we
Mm-hmm.
actually like trust that everything's
Okay.
out?
So this is like an assignment I'll give to you and anyone who's listening because this is something my one of my Lama Sonam taught me this right at the beginning. He said, "I want you to write down like your life, like age 1 to where you are now, and like mark the years and just write down every memory that you can come up with around each age. Any big memories, any big events, and just like look at all of them." And then you can make a line and like, oh, that was a high point, that was a low point, like that was a low point, that was a high point.
Mm.
And the older you get and the more you do this practice, you're going to realize it's like this.
Mhm.
And that whenever you got low, something came into your life and picked you back up. And you just need to notice that and like really spend time looking at all those times in your life when that happened to you, because I've been through, like, my background is like not pretty,
Mm.
but the lowest moments of my life, something or someone or some sign has showed up, and I take it and I don't even notice it. I'm not like, my sign. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to follow that. That's when my journey with trust started, was looking at this path that it really is up and down, and that the universe really never like left me alone on the street. Like it really never left me high and dry and like that.
Yeah.
My worst fears never did happen. The universe never allowed that for me.
Mhm.
And and I think the journey continues with this belief, this really, really deep belief in the light in the world, the positive energy of the world, and B, the universe supports life. Life supports life.
Mm.
And this idea that when humans were created, when flowers were created, nobody was like hustling through to make it happen. Life wanted flowers to bloom. Life wanted humans to take over the world. Life wanted life to work out. And
Mm.
right now, it's trying its best to work out. And that's why there's so much chaos, because it's really trying to create some balance. And I just have this deep trust in the earth that she's here for us. She's here to support us, to take care of us. And all we have to do, Maddie, is witness her in return. That's all she wants from us, is to just witness her and say, you made me, you've kept me alive this long, and I trust in you. Can you trust in me? And really have that relationship be a back and forth.
Mm. It's almost like even just the fact that we're here should give us trust
Exactly.
in a way.
Exactly.
I've been having this like existential thought lately in like a really positive way, but I'll be like driving in my car or I'll be like on a coaching session and like my mind will literally just go, dude, like you're on a floating rock in the middle of space right now. Like I don't know why this keeps happening to me. And then I'll just be going about my day. I'm like cooking food and I'm just like, holy shit, like I'm just on a floating spinning rock,
Mm-hmm.
like a
Mm-hmm.
little ant. And I feel like when I was growing up, I'd have like existential thoughts like this that really freaked me out. Like I
Yeah.
would just
Yeah.
be really overwhelmed about like, you know, what the fuck
Mhm.
is happening? Why am I here?
Exactly. Oh my God. Yes.
But recently, actually, I feel like I had that for like 2 or 3 years where my thoughts
Mm-hmm.
constantly were just like confusion, existential
Mm.
crisis. And then now I have these thoughts kind of like that and it's so peaceful to me. I'm like,
Mm.
yeah, like I'm
Mm-hmm.
on a floating rock. Everything's
Mm-hmm.
perfect. It
Mm-hmm.
makes everything lighter almost.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it makes it easier to trust. Yeah. When you just
Being born a human is the ultimate blessing.
mm,
And that is like a huge thing that we preach in Buddhism, is like the chances of you, Maddie, being born as a human is equal to if I took a handful of rice right now, threw it on my wall, and one piece of rice stuck to the wall. That's the chance of your soul being born a human. And so if
really,
you don't feel blessed as fuck after hearing how slim the
oh
chances are of being born a human, then get into it. And that,
wow.
you know, that's why I love the tradition that I come from, because it's like, oh my God, we're so lucky to be humans. Like, there's so many other realms you could be born into. And
Yeah.
this one is beautiful, and there's pleasure, and there's food, and there's nice clothes, and there's all this fun stuff to play with in this human realm. And that's just all I got to say.
Dude. Ah. Okay. What if someone doesn't feel that way right now? They're feeling like being a human is not very great.
Yeah.
What would you say? I mean, of course, there's so much healing that goes into this. You can't just give like a, oh, just do this and then
Yeah.
you'll love being a human, but maybe from like Buddhist teachings, you know, someone
I
that's
know,
just,
I'm like, okay, let's just get right into the Buddhist teachings, girl. Like,
yeah,
this is not what I was expecting. This it's just I actually love that this is the direction that it's going in, because
yeah.
there are the Four Noble Truths.
Mm-hmm.
Four Noble Truths, okay? So the first truth is that there is suffering. Like, the world is a dark place, man. And this is where people get a little bit confused that Buddhists might be nihilists, because we think like the world is dark and it's going to be dark and then you're going to die and then that's it. Next life, here I come. Like, no. The world is a dark place and we have so much compassion for that. And if we can accept, like, I'm going to suffer, people are going to die, I'm going to get sick, bad things are going to happen. I'm going to feel fearful. Like, I will not get through this life without suffering. Like, I'm going to. It's going to be shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny. The more I tell myself that, the easier life starts to feel. Like, okay, life is suffering. First noble truth that the Buddha shared is, y'all, life is suffering. Can we all accept and agree that it's going to be shitty? Because if we can accept and agree that with that, then we can start to learn to transcend it.
Mm.
So we could go through all the truths, but the idea is at the end, there is a way out.
Mm-hmm.
There is a way out. And my one of my biggest, most personal, biggest beliefs is that we're here on earth to accept that suffering is inevitable and figure out how to transcend it. And the way in my life are the teachings of the Buddha, but everybody gets to figure out their own way. And that's what's so special. Once you accept that life is going to be shitty, it gets way fucking better. Like, I know that, I hope this is coming across, because I have experienced the darkest darkness,
Yeah.
and just being told, like, yep, it's going to be shitty for now.
Yeah.
You're going to get through it.
Mm.
It just made everything easier, and really, really trusting and believing in the way. Whatever your way is, you'll find it.
Mm.
Does that help?
That helps so much and was so fucking beautiful. I knew like before coming on this episode, like I had a feeling like this would be exactly what I need too. Like, of course, it's for
Oh,
my listeners too, but I'm like, I feel like Jane is just gonna spit some knowledge at me that just like changes my life today. Because actually, every time
oh,
I talk to Jane, she like changes my life, which
oh.
we'll get into that too. But no, that's so perfect. And I think like the word I wrote down, like when you were saying all that, was just like acceptance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
I find even in my life, like it's so it's like the resistance to what is the actual suffering. And I feel like once I learned that and now I like integrate it or see it in my life, I realize how true that is. Like the things that I'm afraid of aren't actually that bad. It's the
Mm-hmm.
fear that is that bad,
Mm-hmm.
or the anxiety is that. But if I were to just accept like, oh yes, this might happen to me or that might happen to me, and like that's that, it's it's already starting to transcend, right? It's already starting to
Mm-hmm.
dissipate because I'm not resisting it so fucking
Exactly.
much.
Yeah.
Wow. So I'm curious to hear uh if you're open to share, like how did you, so also I love that you share and you say whatever it is for you, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Jane isn't here to say like you all need to be Buddhist.
No way.
No, and that's my fucking favorite part about Jade is she's just
Oh my
so
gosh.
like down to earth and real. You're like the epitome of like down to earth. She's not here to turn you guys Buddhist and say that's the only way. Your way is your way. But I'm curious to hear how you found your way. So you said you went through really deep, dark times because I'm guessing you were led to this path of healing because you were not
Yes.
healed and then you
Yes.
healed. So I'd love to hear how you found your truth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what works for you.
Yeah, my story, man.
Mhm.
So, you know what it was like to grow up in this town.
Mhm.
And I was not of the religion of this city. I was actually raised very Catholic. And I actually loved being Catholic. It's very spiritual, very similar to Buddhism. Still very devout family, but different because they weren't the religion that everyone here is. And, the interesting thing about growing up for me is that I fit in really well. I was really popular. I to this day have beautiful friends that I had growing up with.
Mhm.
Um, and so I got by. But what was going on inside of me was feeling like such an outsider. Because I was super spiritual from very young. My mom started taking me to yoga classes when I was like 8 because she
Wow.
needed someone to feed this like indigo child she had. So I'm super grateful to her for that. And then, getting into it's funny, like I don't talk about this a lot. I can feel my heart pounding, but getting into high school and like realizing all these girls wanted to like make out with guys and me being like, what's wrong with me? I don't want to do any of that. Like, and feeling so confused, but like being so unwilling to look at the little voice that was like, you might just like girls.
Mm.
Like, no, 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 no. I'm not even going to go there. I just need to get out of Utah and find some like other cute boys, which I didn't do. I ended up going to college with a boyfriend that lived here. Whole other story. I
Oh,
get to college in Oregon and have like the most giant culture shock of my life. And eventually, so this whole time, I would say from about age 13 up until college, I have like a very minor eating disorder, like very minor disordered eating habits that maybe were normal for a girl like me, maybe not, I don't know. But by my sophomore year, they had manifested to such an extreme level. I went about 3 months without eating anything. And
mm,
my body was like keeping up with me, but my brain was like shutting down. It was crazy. I still went to work, I still did school, I did everything.
wow.
I was fully functioning, but something in me was like breaking. And my friends around me could tell like something is breaking in her, like she needs help. And finally one night I broke down and my mom talked me into like going to the health center and like checking myself in for treatment. So that's what I did. I was so resistant to accepting that I had a problem, but they were very clear like you have a serious problem and like we need to get you some help.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going home early, going back to Salt Lake City, which was like so hard for me going home.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to start treatment again. I didn't. I was like, and this is my thing, y'all. I was talking to someone about this morning. I thought I could heal myself. I got this. I'm going to get my act together.
Mm.
If you need help, fucking ask for help. Don't waste a year not getting help.
Yeah.
Anyways, finally, I get to a point where I have another breakdown. I decide to recheck myself in for treatment. I take a medical leave off of school. All this stuff in my body is shutting down. Like my heart is covered in infections. Like all my organs are like really, really bad situation. Really bad situation. I'm in the hospital all the time.
I didn't
I don't
know
even know who this
this.
girl is anymore. This is all just part of that past, right? Like
Yeah.
going to sleep at night, not sure if I would wake up in the morning because they told me like my heart was under so much stress that like I couldn't go on walks anymore. I had to stop like all physical activity and drop out of school and focus on getting better.
Wow.
So that was like a huge turning point for me. And I had nothing to do for a semester. They wouldn't let me do anything. I would go to the doctor on Mondays, the nutritionist on Wednesdays, the therapist on Fridays. But between that, it was about like getting your meals in.
Mhm.
And so this magazine that I was interning for, that I ended up working at for a long time, they had an advertisement for an 8-week introduction to Buddhism course. And I saw it and it was like, I should do this. I should do this because here's the thing. And this is earlier when we were talking, I mentioned spiritual depression. This
Mhm.
whole time that I was in treatment, I was desperate for a meditation teacher, like just some spiritual teacher to come into my life and say, like, let me help you.
Yeah.
Because the talking and the doctor's visits and the checkups and the damn nutritionist, they were not helping me. They were just keeping me alive. And I
Mhm.
was like, none of y'all are helping whatever spiritually is so broken in me that I cannot seem to heal.
Mhm.
And so I had nothing to do for the semester. And I just felt so excited to like pay $50 and be in this 8-week course. I could not wait. And my Tuesday nights at that course became my life. And I walk into this temple, which was an old ward house in downtown Salt Lake City.
Oh, it was in person.
Hmm.
I'm like, this is so foreign. Wait, not
It's this,
COVID times?
oh, right. Yeah, this is back in the day. Downtown Salt Lake City, there's this gorgeous Buddhist temple that no one knows is there.
What?
And I walk up these red stairs to the top, and oh my God, like I wish I could relive this experience of like walking in there and just being like, and at this point, I've probably been to like 30 different meditation groups in town.
Mhm.
And I walked in and I'm just like, I'm finally home. Like, oh my God. It literally was just like, this is what I've been looking for. And that place saved my life. And I kept going every week. I never stopped going. I kept going. That place gave me the strength to finally come out and say,
Mhm.
I'm gay, take me or leave me. I took full refuge in Buddhism, completely dedicated myself to this specific temple. And then about 2.5 years ago, the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life joins the congregation, and I meet my girlfriend. And this whole place is just, that's my path. That place was everything to me. It saved my life. Oh, don't cry.
I am like full on crying right now
Oh, Maddie, why?
because I'm so happy.
Oh, I know.
T-
It's
Today's been like a happy tears kind of day
good.
for me, and yeah, you just hit my
Mm.
heartstrings.
It's like I have seen such darkness.
Mhm.
And like, if anyone is listening and you think, like, I just have to make a plug, like, if you think that you have any issues around food or your body image, or you think you have an eating disorder, or you self harm, or you're just depressed as fuck, or you're just anxious as fuck, like, I feel you so hard. I'm so here for you, and you can get better. You
Mm.
100% can get better. And if anyone tells you you're going to deal with your whole life, and this is just something you're going to cope with your whole life, I say fuck them. You can heal from this. You can completely, and in Buddhism, we believe in rebirth. Your body recreates cells every 7 years.
Mm.
So I'm coming up on 5 years now that I took refuge in Buddhism. My body will be a completely new body pretty soon, if that makes sense.
Wow.
My spirit and soul and all my memories and my DNA will still be here, but you can change. This person that I just told you about, like, it's painful to tell you about because I don't even remember her very well, you know? But that person needs to have a presence in my life so that I can do the work that I'm doing,
Mhm.
because those are the people that I want to be there for. Because this one man in this one Buddhist temple was there for me. I
Mhm.
was looking everywhere. So I want to be seen, for people that need it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And
Yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind that, I mean, yeah, there's just like that course just like came to you and you felt inspired. Like
Mhm.
someone is just
Mhm.
gonna feel inspired to maybe someone that doesn't even listen to this podcast. They're gonna just see this
Mhm.
episode and be like, huh, maybe I'll
Mhm.
listen to this one. Jane, that's a cute name. I'll listen to this one. And right, they're gonna hear exactly what they need to hear by you having like the strength and the courage and the confidence to talk about something that is maybe not
Mm.
pleasant to like bring back up, but
Yeah.
like you said is so necessary to the growth of others. And that brings me back to, I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but the Bodhisattva,
Oh, Bodhisattva?
because I googled it,
Yeah.
what the meaning is. Can you explain what that means exactly?
Yes. So I feel honored that you Googled it. It's like you did your research for me. That's so cute.
I did do my
You're
research.
so
I'm
cute.
always doing my research on you. I'm like, "What's Jane doing today?"
So, I love that you asked me this because I think you're a bodhisattva.
Mm,
But specifically, when I took refuge in Buddhism, I took bodhisattva vows, which are very simple. I won't lie, I won't kill, I won't steal, I won't create any sexual violence.
mm,
I won't lose my mind. I won't get out of my mind, which means, taking in any toxins that kind of really take you out of your body.
mm,
Um, yeah, the vows of the bodhisattva. And then, and then it's a commitment when you take the bodhisattva vows this lifetime and every single lifetime after this, I will be reborn as a bodhisattva here to serve
mm,
and relieve the suffering of others.
mhm,
So everything that I do is always for the benefit of all other beings.
mhm,
I'm here to serve the world. Everything that I do is with the hopes of making the world more loving, more kind, more joyful place.
mm.
And so I take those vows very, very seriously in my own life. And there are so many people around the world who are doing the same thing. They just never took bodhisattva vows. Um, and yeah, there's famous bodhisattvas in history, and there's many, many in the world right now who are actively praying and practicing and accumulating positive merit into the world every single day. And maybe that's comforting for somebody to hear that we're really, people like you and me, we're working really hard out there to bring more light to the world.
Yeah, I love that. Well, 'cause it's very similar, like, I obviously, the internet isn't always accurate, but yeah, I was saying someone that's, like, pretty much, like, enlightened, like, reached nirvana, but they hold off from, like, completely diving into that portion of their life because they wanna
Hmm.
stay back and, like, serve others,
Exactly. It's
and
like you
that
kind of renounce enlightenment in a way because I'm going to become enlightened to as much as my human body can take it,
yeah.
but I'm going to keep being reborn again and again and again to serve. And that's just my soul's mission. It's not like I really had a choice.
Mm. How did you know it was your soul's mission?
Going so deep, girl. So here's the thing, and I really hope this resonates with anybody. I am a white girl, white parents, Catholic family, very Irish Catholic family,
Mm.
very spiritual, very privileged, educated, and I walk into a Buddhist gompa and they're chanting in Tibetan, and it is just familiar. It is just like home. Like they give me my once I finally like converted and got my first scripts and I'm reading them and I have them memorized like in 2 days, I'm like, it's like I already know everything. It's really weird. And my girlfriend kind of teases me because she'll say like if you want to know something about Buddhism, ask Jane. Like she will probably know because it's just like in
In
me.
you. Yeah.
It's so familiar. Like I have a drum at the Gompa. We haven't been able to be there. I don't have a drum here. And I'm like, my drum like connects me back to my past lives when this was my work.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so it's just like, it's just
Just
where it's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
I
Did I answer your question?
yes. You're answering every question so perfectly that I almost don't know how to respond afterwards. Like, I just kind of am like, "Yes.
Oh,
Okay. I love you." Um, yes, you answered it so perfectly, and can relate to you so much, and I was actually gonna bring this up. I was like as I was just, like, going throughout my morning, kind of, like, thinking about, like, what we were gonna talk about today, I kept thinking about spirituality. Like, I wanted to bring up on this episode, like, what even is spirituality? What does it look like? What does it not look like? Can you be like this and be spiritual? Can you be like that and be spiritual? Because I was telling Jane before we started recording, like, there's so much misconception or just like, if you're spiritual, you have to be into crystals, if whatever. just this whole thing around the rise. Why are you laughing at me?
I'm like, do you have your crystals nearby? Prove it to me that you're spiritual, girl.
I actually do. But because they're cute and
It's
this
because
is
they're
for fun.
pretty.
Yeah.
Exactly, girl.
Um,
Okay, I'm sorry. Finish your question.
you're totally fine. Yeah, I'm really getting into spirituality. I just ordered all these crystals. Like, let's go, girl.
Mhm.
No, and
Mhm.
that's a part of it. I am not bashing on anyone that's into
No,
crystals.
I love crystals,
I
dude.
love it. But there's just this rise of spirituality and a lot of confusion about what it is, what rituals you have to have, whatever.
Mhm.
Even for a long time, not a long time, but there was like a portion as I was like getting into the spiritual online space where I was like,
Mhm.
wait, am I not spiritual because I don't have all these like rituals that are kind of a little witchy or things like that? And I was like, what
Yeah.
is going on here? Um, this has
Yeah.
nothing to do with what I was just about to say. What I was about to say was when I first started like my kind of like spirituality switch, and one of my mentors started like sharing things with me, and she started, I was like at a really really low point, and my dad had just given me a book by Eckhart Tolle, and
Oh.
so she was like, okay, here's the time I need to kind of talk to her. I think
Mhm.
she knew that she needed to like kind of explain some things to me, so she started kind of telling me some teachings. um and I remember her just telling me all of this, and it was like literally, I was, like, in turmoil, like, bawling my eyes out, sobbing, like, just not okay, and she, like, told me all of these teachings, and I was like, "Peace." Literal peace and literal, like, familiarity, like, I was almost like, "Oh
Mhm.
my god, thank you so much for reminding me, like, how did I
Yes.
forget this?"
Yes.
And then she would tell me more, and I started reading Eckhart Tolle, and this is how I knew, like, after being, like, Mormon for 18 years of my life and hearing, going to other churches and hearing other teachings, the reason I knew that, like, this was truth or what I was, like, diving into and how my life path was going was, like, truth,
Mhm.
was it was like, "Oh, duh." Like, "Oh, like, of course this is the truth, of
Mhm.
course this is the way." There was just no doubt or questioning, it was like I always knew it, and someone just needed to remind me. That
Exactly.
was it, and, sorry, I just talked for a long time right there,
No,
but
that's beautiful. It's about remembering. We're
it's
here
about
to
remembering.
remember.
Yes,
And
that was
that's why when we're young kids, like I was like the most head in the clouds little kid, like so happy,
Mhm.
like in my little spirit realm because I remembered it so well.
Mm.
And then as I got older, it was like society started cementing into me. And I really think that like a lot of these mental illnesses that we manifest is like our soul forgetting how magic we are, and remembering is what makes you spiritual. Okay.
Mm.
So when you realize that you are a divine human and that humans are inherently spiritual, whether you want to be or not, you
Mhm.
are a divine human being. And I think to me, first of all, spirituality is however you define it. You have to define that for yourself. Second of all, the second you remember that you are a divine being and that you came to this earth to like experience love and joy and pleasure and like awakening, you're spiritual. Like
Mhm.
if you believe in anything higher than what's in front of you, you're spiritual. But I think that that's something we have to define for ourselves.
Yeah. And a lot of people nowadays are trying to define it for us. They're trying to define a
Exactly.
lot of things for us, not just
Hmm.
spirituality, but who we should be in the world, what kind of work we should do, what we should be charging for our services, what we should be wearing, what we should be posting.
Hmm.
So I love that you bring up. I mean, this we are on a floating rock, you guys. We have named and labeled and chosen everything and anyone that tells you should be defining this way. It's
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
no, we get to choose what we want this to be and that to be and
Hmm.
how we want this to be. So I love that. I'm feeling really inspired to bring back this conversation of like, just really quickly, I don't know why I feel
Mhm.
so inspired to touch on this because this is something also I feel very passionately about, is this idea of mental illness being something you are just born with or given, and there's nothing you
Mhm.
can do about it, right? Just you have this,
Mhm.
and that sucks. You just have
And
to
you'll never recover.
you'll never recover. Oh, you just
Mhm.
have to deal with it. Your life's just gonna be
Mhm.
hard, like, poor you kind of
Mhm.
thing. And I personally believe, because I got out of a really, really depressive state
Mhm.
after going to therapists and it not working out and me just healing on my own.
Mhm.
Um, and so I feel really passionately about like sharing the word of like you can heal yourself, you can
Yes.
get better, you can beat anxiety. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know. Can you speak a little
Oh
bit
my God, I can
on
speak on it.
that?
I'm like, let me jump in, girl. Okay, so we're not meant to have this amount of mental illnesses. We're not. We're not meant to have cancers, all these diseases. We're not meant to have any of this, okay?
Mhm,
And we're in a society that is right now, that's just the human realm. This is just the existence that we have right now. It's just the way that it is.
mhm,
And that's why I say, and I had doctors tell me, you're going to deal with this for the rest of your life. You're always going to have panic attacks at the dinner table. You're always going to be stressing about food. You're always going to be obsessed with your weight. And all you need to do is learn to manage it.
mm,
And this is kind of that like AA concept of like, hi, I'm Jane. I'm an anorexic, and I'm here to remind myself of that every day and drill it into my head. And so that I stick with it really well, you know?
mhm,
And luckily, pretty soon, that option for mental health was disproven. They're like, let's not use 12 steps around mental health patients. That doesn't work very well. Because
mhm,
the idea is that when you're constantly identifying with this issue, it's running your life, girl, man, boy, whoever's listening.
mhm.
It's running your life.
Yes.
And the more that you identify with that, the less space you're giving yourself to believe that you can be free from it someday. And this is where manifestation and the practices that you share can fucking change your life. So when I went back into treatment, there was this book that I read that was really helpful that was like, write out your perfect day in your healed life.
Mm,
And so I wrote out a day where I woke up and I didn't feel anxious. And I had breakfast with my boyfriend and like we went on a walk and then I went to school and I had on this cute outfit and I ate lunch with my friends and then I cooked dinner and like I got groceries and like I just described a really, really boring typical day in my life. But that would have been my dream.
mhm,
Every morning I woke up and I looked at that and I just really believed like I know that I can have that someday.
mhm,
And that is why, like, what you share is to me so spiritual and like so life changing because that's that's some of the stuff that helped me believe I could recover. And I had so much anxiety, and they would just give me pills for it. And I was just like, I'm trying to heal, y'all. And that's why I had a really hard time with Western medicine, is that it was like, I'm trying to heal, and I feel like you give me band aid after band aid. And I was spending so much money on treatment,
mhm.
and they didn't even believe that I could recover someday. And it was actually in a book that this book that like changed my life, and it inspired me to create my own course, which I'm currently working on. This book like told me you can recover. And this book was written by people who were recovered. And I realized no one in my treatment facility had recovered from an eating disorder. Like, thank God they wanted to support us, but they hadn't had that experience. They
Mhm,
were using science and psychology. And to be told by women who had recovered, who were doctors, to tell me you can and you will, that was fucking huge. That was life changing.
mhm,
And to add on to these labels that we collect, right? Another one is just constantly identifying myself as gay, lesbian, queer, woman all the time and allowing that to be like a label that brings me prejudice. Am I making
mm,
sense?
mhm, yes.
It's these labels that we use like, well, they don't like me because I'm gay. They probably just don't like you because they don't like you. Get over it. Like, don't blame it on that shit. You know what I mean? Like, don't use all of these labels that you use to describe yourself anymore. And one day I did a live stream and I was like, I'm white, I'm privileged, I'm queer, I'm Buddhist, like, because we're in this era of you gotta have your PC labels down, girl.
Yeah.
My teacher, who was a black man from Brooklyn, called me immediately after I posted that live stream and he was like, "Girl, stop with all the labels. Stop identifying yourself. You are you." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Wait, can I drop every label that I've ever used to describe myself and just be like Jane?
Yeah.
Is that okay?" And he was like, "Please start doing that." So that is like a big like mind blower for me.
Yeah.
It has given me so much freedom in my life.
Oh my God. Like, this is why, like, I swear we're fucking soul sisters. Yes, to all of that. And a lot of what you just said is a lot of what I like wish to say so much sometimes. I mean, it's not always like this space to say it on my platform, but what I just want to preach to others. And sometimes I'm just not sure how to say it, but like when we take a label and we identify with it, we're actually manifesting it even more because what you
Mhm.
focus on, like where your focus goes, energy flows. So if you're focusing on, oh my God, I can't do that because I'm anxious. Oh my God, I don't want to do anything because I'm depressed. I have depression. Or the big one is seasonal depression. I actually had someone ask me if I could do a podcast episode on seasonal depression. And I was like, I can't even do a whole podcast episode about it because I have one sentence. Just stop waiting for your seasonal depression
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
won't come. Because once you
Mhm.
have that one low day,
Mhm.
then you classify it as a seasonal depression and now it is. Maybe
Mhm.
even it wasn't a depression, but
Mhm.
now it is because we grab it and we like manifest that into our lives. And how can we heal? Exactly, like how can we heal from something if we're pretty much telling ourselves like we can't
Mhm.
heal? Like it's just something we have.
Mhm.
There's
Mhm.
nothing we can do about it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Like there's a lot of things we label ourselves to, even like, oh, I'm not artistic. This is something I've been talking about a lot on my platform lately and with my
Mhm.
clients is like, because I'm experiencing this thing where I used to say like, oh, like I'm just not athletic. I'm not artsy. I'm not creative. Like I'm not a good stylist, or I'm so bad with this. I'm so bad with that. And I'm like, I'm bad with those things and I'm not creative and I'm not artistic and I'm not sporty because I literally told myself that I'm not, and I've just been clinging to that my whole life.
Exactly.
Like what the
Your body is listening to you. Your body's like, "Okay, got it."
every moment.
Every
Every
moment.
moment.
Yes. Yeah.
If you drop
Exactly.
something and you say like, "Oh my God, I'm so clumsy. I'm so stupid."
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. And so it is.
Exactly.
Um another big one for me was clumsy. Oh my God, I'm so clumsy. I'm so clumsy. I made
Oh.
more little mistakes in my life when I classified it myself as clumsy. As
Mhm.
soon as I let go of it,
Mhm.
gone.
Yeah.
I'm not anymore just because I said
Exactly. Like that's how, and it's like you're speaking to how powerful like we really are. Like the mind, and I know that we both preach this like until the moon comes out, but like our minds are so powerful, so powerful. You can heal your whole body. I had infections in my whole, all my organs. Horrible, horrible, horrible. I was on so much medication. And
Mhm.
I'm not joking you. What I learned in Buddhism, the practices that I did to train my mind is what healed me. It
Yes.
was not the medication. That's all I'm going to
I
say.
well, I have another thing to say, and
I'll
I
say more, but I'll just stop there.
well, that's the last thing you're gonna say? I have, like, 50 more things to
Podcast
say.
over.
Uh, um, wait, fuck, what were you just saying? Oh. So I've been having this predicament lately. This is getting, like, really deep and, like, weird with you guys. Like, I wanna just talk about something I've been going through, and I think I kinda was telling Jane. I've been having this experience where I'm like, am I completely suppressing my emotions, or do I really just not feel bad anymore? Because I work with so many people that are on their healing journeys and going things, right? Like going through things, my clients and group coaching clients or just people I talk to in the DMs, and I've started like realizing I'm like, wow, like I have some low days, right? I have lower days. I have days where like I guess you could classify them as bad days, but I just don't have
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
bad moments. So I've
Yeah.
been going through this thing. I'm like, am I suppressing my emotions or have I really done the work on myself that like I have so much inner peace, almost nothing can touch me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I'm realizing now that it truly is the work that I've done on my mindset. My mindset is so strong. And this is coming from someone who completely classified as depressed, don't talk to me, don't touch me, don't get me out of bed.
Mm-hmm.
They told the school I had mono because I was so depressed.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, I literally don't get sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
We're supposed to feel
So
good.
exactly. We're supposed to feel good, and it's a frequency thing. You talk about frequencies a lot. Like if you're buzzing at this frequency, you're going to stay there. And when you start buzzing at a higher frequency, you tend to stay there. Maybe some days you're a little bit lower, maybe some days you're a little bit higher.
Mhm.
But the idea is, okay, what do I want to say here?
I
Okay.
love when you talk to yourself like that.
Sorry.
It's so calming to me. I'm like, oh, yes.
Just want to make sure I'm being really clear because there's a few things happening here. One of them is you have changed so much in your outer world.
Mhm.
The things around you aren't as shitty anymore. You got
Mhm.
a guy who treats you well. You got a job that you love. You
Yeah.
love your surroundings. You know what I mean? Like that's fucking huge because I know we relate to being in a relationship with someone that makes you feel like shit all the time and you're like,
Yeah.
"Why can't I be happy? Why is it so hard to be happy? Oh, because I'm hanging out with this person that makes me feel like shit. Why don't I get?" So, and this is what we in my sanctuary program, like first step, look around you, sister. What's happening around you that's making you feel like shit? You need to upgrade what's around you. Then that's when you can start to figure out what in me is feeling so down. And there's something that like this little like moment came up when you said, I don't really have bad days anymore.
Mhm.
I don't really have bad days anymore either because for me to have a bad day, that means that I have a low emotion, right? Let's just assume I'm having a bad day because I woke up feeling really down and then I didn't do anything about it. And so I kind of kept spiraling. And then I like decided to skip breakfast because like I was already feeling shitty. So now I kind of feel worse. And like now I'm being like shitty to my girlfriend because I feel shitty and now she's pissed off and I don't know why. It has nothing to do with. Do you see where like
Yeah.
we just let that day take us down until it's the end of the night and you're in a panic attack and you're crying and you want to die.
Mhm.
This was my life so many fucking days in a row because I had no idea how to manage my emotions.
Mhm.
And so when we give ourselves space to feel what we're feeling in that moment, and then just really simple questions. What can I do right now to feel a little bit better? And I like I sound like you.
Yes.
What can I do right now to feel a little bit better? And that's why, y'all, when I wake up in the morning, I don't see no messages on my phone. I don't look at anything. Everything is beautiful.
Mhm.
Meditate, I read a little, I journal, I drink my coffee. I'm not going to let anybody fuck with my beginning of the day
Mhm.
because I want to have a good day. Now, something happens that throws me off that's shitty. Maybe old Jane would let her take that down for sure. I'll just go down with the whole day. But no, it's kind of like how I voice messaged you earlier today, and I was like, Maddie, I'm feeling kind of sad today. And then like 30 seconds later, I'm like giggling, and I'm like, but now I don't.
I feel like really, really low. Oh, never mind. 30 seconds into this message, I'm feeling great.
Like, you know what? Actually, no, I'm okay. And I really believe so much in like letting your friends hold space for you in that way or letting yourself hold space for you in that way. Journaling, like, I'm feeling kind of low today. Like, why is that? Or like you talk to your friend and then your friend can be like, yeah, remember how life is suffering? And you're like, oh, yeah, it is. Like, what can I do to feel better right now? Like, and then go do that, whatever it is. Even if you're working, like, try to be nicer to people around you. You're going to feel better. Like,
Yeah. It really is just the desire to feel better. Like
Mhm.
truly just the
Mhm.
desire to feel better and
Mhm.
like committing to that. Literally my journal entries, they look like I feel weird. I
Mhm.
feel sad, question mark. I
Mhm.
feel overwhelmed, question mark. I feel like I'm falling behind, or I kind of feel like I'm falling behind. Why do I feel like I'm falling behind? Oh, because I saw this person. Her journey is so different than mine. And then I'm like, ooh, that thought felt really, really good for me to like write down or think, right?
Mhm. Yes.
Oh, everyone's journey is different. Why is my journey the best journey? Why is my journey
Mhm.
perfect? And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh my God, my journey is perfect because of this. What do I like about my journey? And it's almost like you give space to your emotions, but then you say you handle it instead of letting it feed into the rest of your
Mhm.
day. And
Yes.
that's where I think I also get confused with some of the teachings that I see. I really like try not to consume a lot of like online stuff. I try to like stick with like teachers and like books and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Thank you.
But
Books are a great way to learn.
yes. But even in books, right? They all say like create space for your emotions, feel your emotions.
Mhm.
You have to feel your emotions. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of people take this as just feel my emotions, and even if it's bad, that's okay, and just like let it like
Mhm.
bubble and be there and
Mhm.
feed into everything. And I want to like clear that up and say like feel your
Mhm.
emotions with the intention of feel to heal.
Mhm.
Feel it so
Mhm.
that you can heal it and like make it better. Not don't create space for your emotions as in, oh, you feel angry today and that's okay. Just I mean, it's okay for you to feel angry at first,
Mhm.
but then you can't just give yourself permission to be angry all day to everyone in
Exactly.
every way,
Mhm.
which I see that a lot, which is hard. Um, yeah.
There's this analogy that one of my teachers gave me, which is like when you're feeling the way that you're feeling and it's like a low vibration and it's like not the way you want to feel, give yourself the space to be in there and then notice when you're just like bathing in the muck. Like
Yeah.
when you're like, okay, I want to like clear this now because there has to be, and this is why I teach so much about opening the heart, there has to be an openness to feeling better.
Mhm.
And a lot of people aren't open to feeling better because they're so used to feeling down. And what you might be experiencing is actually what a lot of like people who are in sobriety start to realize is that they're like, wait, I've been feeling really good and peaceful and there's like no chaos in my life and like it oh shit, like it, are things about to get really bad? Like or am I like did I just become super ignorant that like things are, and it's like no, honey. Your life is no longer chaos and depression and anxiety anymore
Yeah.
and you're just feeling better
Yeah.
and like you're just adjusting to it, and the more and more that you adjust to it, the more and more we're practicing what we call the middle way, where you're not having these crazy highs of like, I'm on top of the world, everything's amazing, that lead to these crazy lows. You're feeling more steady day, and
Mhm.
when you have a low, you know that it's going to end, you know that you're going to start voice messaging your friend and then you're going to like be giggling in 30 seconds and you're going to get over
Yeah.
it.
Mm. And if you could give one like little baby step, right? I like to you listen to the podcast. I love to give like a little baby step, like the tiniest little step that someone could make today. If someone is feeling the highest of highs some days and the lowest of lows, and those lows that they feel like,
Mm,
is it ever going to get better? What's one step that you feel like they could take to get closer to a more stable life?
mm. Oh, I feel like I'm just going to give a really obvious cliche answer.
Cliches are the cliche for a reason.
Dude, just start meditating every day. Like, I'm sorry, like for
Mhm.
me, and maybe this is helpful to be more clear. In
Mhm.
my tradition, when you want to start meditating, we start you off with 3 minutes a day,
Mhm.
whether it's right after you brush your teeth in the morning or at night. We usually couple it with brushing your teeth because that's really easy to couple those habits. And
Mhm.
I know that when we had our first session together, I was like, light a candle for 5 minutes, just observe it. Don't worry about all this mindfulness stuff. Don't worry about all this meditation stuff. Step
Mhm.
one is learning to focus your mind. We call it shine, calm abiding. So if you can just observe the flicker of a candle for 5 minutes and
Mhm.
just appreciate the beauty of the flame, it changed my life so quickly. This small, small, small practice.
Mhm.
And I know, like, it's funny because I started teaching meditation when there was like nobody teaching meditation, and now it's everywhere, which is so amazing. But I think people are like, I get it, meditate. And I just want to say, like, observe the beauty of a flower for 3 minutes and tell me you don't feel better afterwards.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
if you don't, like, get in touch with me. We can work together because there's so much for you here. And I was so desperate for someone to just teach me how to meditate for so
Yeah.
long.
Yeah. I I love that you bring up a quote unquote cliche because cliches are cliche for a reason and people say things or preach things or you hear something so many times for a reason and sometimes it just takes that one person
Mhm.
to say it or say it in a different way or impact somebody that is going to actually like
Mm.
someone's going
Mhm.
to hear it different. It's kind of like you can hear the same message over and over and over and over, the same quote over and over and over and over, scrolling past on Instagram. And one day you read
Mm.
it and it just like
Hits
shifts
you.
things for you. It hits you. It like makes sense.
Mm.
Um, so I don't think people could ever hear cliches enough or even like the stuff that I say. I don't know if you guys realize, maybe you guys do, but I say stuff over and over and over and over and over
Love
and
it.
because
Yeah.
that's what's going to make it click one day, right?
And it's like we need these reminders too.
Yeah.
Like I need my reminders to meditate, and that's like my job.
Yeah.
But, it's like if you are listening to this and you've been feeling a little bit unstable lately, like how's your meditation practice going? Like what can I do to help you recommit to it in this moment?
Mhm.
Because if you're feeling manic and all over the place, you got to learn to steady your mind.
Yeah.
You can learn to steady your mind in 5 minutes a day, and eventually you'll crave more and you'll add more time and you'll get more into it because you'll like so much more how different you show up in the world after those 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That you'll come back. And if you aren't, then you need to take a really good look at yourself and how much you want to heal. You have to be willing to heal or
Hmm.
you will not get there. And I am the first person to tell you that. Trust me, you got to be ready.
Yeah. And it's a very real thing. Like we want to be comfortable. Even if feeling shitty is more comfortable to us, we want
Mhm.
to be comfortable. So, it is like a big reason why people say they want to feel better so much, but they just don't. So they actually don't want to feel better, which
Mhm.
when I was learning about that or realized that, it kind of blew my mind. I'm like, what do you mean? Like people don't want to feel better?
Mhm.
But sometimes we're just not ready for it.
Mhm.
But if you're listening, just remember like we are not humans are not made to feel bad. We are not here to have mental illness. We are not here to feel chaotic. We are here to experience beauty and love and connection and relationship. And um, yeah, I feel like it's a little lost right now, but people like Jane are bringing us back to the important.
Oh.
Also, I love that you brought up the environment thing because I'm just now realizing that how big a part of that is. Like,
Mm.
you're not going to have anxiety if you create your life and manifest your life in the way that there's nothing around you that's going to give you anxiety. So
Mhm.
that's huge.
Mhm.
The last thing I want to dive into is this conversation of my Akashic records reading. Well, just the Akashic records in general, but I just have to
Mhm.
say one more time, you guys, like how many I think I've already talked about this like 3 times on my podcast.
Yeah.
I've never I have never experienced anything like this. Like literally I would feel an emotion and Jane instantly would like respond to it.
Mm.
And Yes. Okay. I like want to give all of the credit to you, but I know you're just being the channel, right?
Hmm.
Very fucking clear channel.
Yeah, it's your records that spoke to you.
Yeah, but to toot your horn, you're a really fucking clear channel,
Oh.
obviously, because if the things that were coming through during my session were that like um just for me, it was so
Hmm.
clear, like so it was one of those like remembering things. Like she was saying things
Hmm.
and I was like, it wasn't Jane saying it. Anywho, um, how did you become such a clear channel and like build up your intuition? Um, and yeah, can you just talk a little bit more about intuition, relationship with the universe, how to hear messages, see messages? I want to just know your experience.
Okay. Wow, there's so much.
I
So
know.
I think
I asked like 8 questions and one I
I
didn't.
know it's so good. It's so I think that wow, like I don't hmm, it's bringing me back to this like spiritual thing for a second because what do I want to say here? I think the first thing I want to say about the gifts that I have as a channel is that I don't believe I would have these channels open if it weren't for the masters that I have worked with in the Vajrayana tradition. And I feel like I don't give that enough credit because it's so personal, it's so private. Like the things that happen with me and my Rinpoches and my lamas and what we do in Nepal and all of that stuff that we would call like Tibetan Buddhism can be very secretive that way.
Mm,
That kind of stuff. I just feel like it's important for me to say that without my teachers, I would not have these abilities. And so I got really curious about Reiki, just kind of just because I was a teacher that I liked was offering a training and I wanted to learn more about it and my friend was really interested so we decided to do it together and it was another one of those aligned things. It was such a fun day. It was like such an amazing experience and I immediately started practicing for people. And when I told my teacher that I started practicing Reiki, he was like, you've already had all of those attunements. And I was like, oh, cool. That's why I'm so good at this. That's why it feels so natural to me. Then as I'm giving my sessions more often, I'm starting to like get really clear images of people's lives when I have my hands on them. And it was very confusing. And I would like tell them like this is what I saw and they would just be like they would either start crying or they'd be like, "Oh my god." And I'd be like, "What the fuck do I do with this information?" Like I
what?
didn't really like it. And then I would talk to my teacher about it and he's this like old master who just smiles and is like, "Yep, keep practicing," like doesn't want to give me any answers. So, pretty soon I couldn't do my hands-on stuff. And I started doing remote Reiki like what I did with you.
Mhm.
And I'm feeling that, but it's just like I'm really like I have got to learn how to get these skills going. Like I have got to and that's why the Akashic Records training was so amazing because it was like everything I wanted in a training that would help me activate these skills that I knew I had. Everybody has these abilities. Some of us are more tapped in than others. Some of us have different senses that are more tapped in than others.
Mhm.
And for me, seeing was just a really, really strong one. Some people hear or even smell or channel really directly. Channeling felt really, really hard for me at first. Like you see, and then you've got to practice getting those words out. I know that you're really good at just channeling directly.
Mhm.
So when I started this training, I was really intimidated to start doing the work. But I have a few guides that appear to me, one in specific that appears to me every time I'm about to embark on something new. Every single time he appears. And so when I started this training and I did my first time opening the records, there he was. And I just knew, like, okay, I'm on the right path. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And as I'm giving the readings, I'm really nervous and really not trusting myself. And it was probably one of the greatest lessons in conquering your self-doubt and trusting yourself. And I get onto the reading with like the instructor, and it's like your last reading, you give her a reading,
Mm.
and she kind of gives you your like, okay, you're good, you're ready to go. And I was so fucking nervous. I was so nervous, and I still watch that video to critique myself because I was so doubtful of my own gifts and my own clarity and what I was sharing. And sometimes we just need validation from other people, right? Like she was like, "You've got it, girl. You're such a clear channel. Like go out and do your work. Like please go out and do your work." And so it was really intimidating for me to start doing this work. And I think that the funny thing is that I act like it's me, Maddie,
Yeah.
and it's not. Like it's not me. Like I am not a business strategist, and I pretended to be one for you because those were the words that were coming through, you know? Like and so the more readings I give, and that's the funny thing that I shared with you already, like the day I announced I was giving readings, I got booked up so fast. And I was so nervous to like explain to people what the Akashic records are. And it was like nobody cared. Everyone just booked right up with me. And I was shown the power of this work and how it's not me. It is my guides, it's your guides. And I just have gotten lucky enough to receive these blessings through my life that have made me the clear channel that I am.
You're gonna make me cry again.
Oh,
That's
good.
so fucking cool. It's literally so fucking cool. Like, and it makes me almost cry because it's like it's one of those I feel like I went like a lot of my life without like knowing things for sure. Like someone would say something and I'd be like, okay, yeah, girl, like
Mhm.
great. But you like say these things and you share like your wisdom and your story, and it's like so much truth. It like makes me like cry almost. Like,
Mhm.
does that make sense? That's so
Yeah.
cheesy, but like I almost am so overfilled with like truth and like this just knowing that that's so true, and it's like so powerful to me. It literally makes me cry. That's so fucking
Oh,
crazy. Um, do you have any um mm, so you said everyone has these abilities, some people more than others, right? I've heard of a lot of people having more just like psychic abilities. For instance, like I do not ever see anything, but or really hear anything, but things just come out of my mouth, right?
mhm.
Things just come
Mhm.
out. But I'm curious for someone that's maybe not as tapped in, or like they are having some of those experiences but don't know how to control it. How can
Mhm.
we get closer to our intuition?
Mhm.
One, I think right off the bat, you're going to say meditation, right?
Yes.
Being, being still, being quiet.
Mhm.
But what else do you think can really aid us in
Mhm.
being able to talk to our guides, being able to
Yeah.
know what is our guides and what is like a download and what is our mind creating, if
Mm.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, opening up the mind to be able to, well, you okay, let me be more clear. Step one is going to be meditating so that we can start to decalcify the pineal gland, which is so responsible for all of our psychedelic intuitive experiences, which I know you know, all the stuff we've done in our lives has made it all cemented up, and it can be very, very hard to get in touch. So that's why meditation is a really big, important first step, clearing the mind.
Mhm.
Then preparing the body is going to be a really important step. Energy work, movement, yoga, self healing, whatever it is, orgasm. That's a great energy work.
Mhm.
So those are two things that I would get practicing if you're someone who like really wants to get more tapped in. And then besides those things, it's like playing games. Like, okay, here's one that could help. Like, I'm just like seeing my, like, get a deck of cards and start practicing with cards, because you can tap into your intuition. There's tools you can use, right? People like to use pendulums.
Yeah.
Um, but don't get wrapped up in all the tools either, because here's the little games you can play. Like, for me, I always say, like, if someone comes to mind, message them.
Mm-hmm.
If someone comes to mind, like they might need something, you act on that. If you get a feeling like, oh, I think that maybe I should turn right today, even though I always go left, like, go right. You might have just saved your life or someone else's.
Mm-hmm.
These little games that we play, like, pay more attention to them. And then this is something that have been working on in the last year, is like, I feel really strongly like something's gonna happen. And then I just tell someone, like, I'll tell my girlfriend, like, I'm pretty sure that, like, this week this is gonna happen. And normally we would keep that stuff to ourselves, like, you're crazy, you're such a weirdo, why do you think that's gonna happen? And if you just say it, that is actively trusting your own intuition and your own inner knowing, which is so strong, which is always looking out for you. If you can practice more listening to it and then being like, oh my gosh, I feel like I need to call this person right now, and then do it, you might be saving their life. Like, these little things, or even like, I always know when my teacher's about to call me. Like, I always know 5 minutes before he's going to call me. And now, like, I just count on it. Like, oh, okay, I better get ready because he's going to call in 5 minutes. And like, these little things that we can do throughout the day, even like watching RuPaul's Drag Race. I'm going to guess the winner. I'm going to know the winner. I know it. I'm going to feel into it. Like,
Yeah.
little games that you can play. I'm going to guess what my partner wants for dinner tonight. Like, I'm just going to guess. And you learn that a lot of your intuition is like trained intellect and intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of times it's just spirit talking to you. And I think that the more we can give ourselves the opportunity to practice it and play with it, the
Mm-hmm.
more you'll see it coming online.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this like all kind of ties back to like trust in yourself, right? Like your whole story about you just needing to trust yourself, like getting over like self-doubts, right? Feeling like you don't have the answers, because you really, really do have the answers. Everyone has the answers. Everyone, um, yeah, you have the answers, and we have each other to help guide each other to the answers, right? And to share more truth so that we remember it. But everyone has their answers. You know what's right for you. And that's why, um, you know, you said earlier, Buddhism is for you, but that might not be for the listeners. Maybe for some, maybe not for some, maybe for them it's something different. And it's your listening to your intuition, and what you need is what's going to guide you to what's right for
Oh
you.
my gosh, especially when it comes to your spirituality.
Yeah.
And I feel like now I'm just like coming back to your question about spirituality.
Yeah.
What should I do? What should I like? I had this great call with a client once, and I wished we had recorded it, because she was like, I feel like I'm just appropriating all of these cultures every time I do something, but I feel like I'm supposed to do this and this and this. And it's like, girl, get rid of all the tools that you think you need. Trust
Mhm.
me. If you could see the amount of shit I have on my shelf right here that Buddhists need to do our practices, we
Mhm.
don't need any of that. We just love it. It's ritual. It reminds us. So
Mhm.
when I hold something like this and I'm like, this is so familiar to me, it
Mhm.
reminds me of a past life when this was my life.
Mm.
If you feel that way when you pick up a crystal, or when you pick up a singing bowl, or anything, when you pick up a book, just let yourself follow that.
Mhm.
Don't let some girl on the internet tell you you need a quartz singing bowl. Like,
Mm.
that, no. Don't let anyone on the internet tell you what your spirituality should look like. Like, that, if there, I'm like, this is going to be like my big number one thing. Don't let anyone on the internet tell you how your spirituality should be, because that is up to you, and it is about your journey of remembering.
Mhm.
And my journey is remembering my Tibetan Buddhist roots. Now, I can't push that on Maddie because I saw Maddie's past lives and she certainly was not in the Himalayas with me. Sorry, Maddie. You know, it's like you got to go with what your past lives have brought you into, and you're actively dealing with that in your life right now. And that's why I see you thriving, because I
Mm,
saw the lives that you had before that got you to where you are now.
yeah.
So just remembering, it is an act of remembering. What makes you feel alive? What makes you feel connected to the divine? Like when were your most spiritual moments in life, and why? And
Mm,
like I don't follow a lot of spiritual people online because I don't like having anyone tell me. It's kind of like if you followed like 50 confidence coaches all day, you'd be like, shit, she's doing it that way. She's doing it. Maybe I should do this. Like, I have a few like tight knit Buddhist friends that we follow each other and kind of make each other not feel so alone in the world. But other than that, if they don't resonate with you, if they don't make you feel warm, like you're remembering something, let it
mhm.
go. Like, there are so many people out there to resonate with. And if you don't resonate with some spiritual teacher on the internet, like, let them go. Let them go resonate with somebody else.
Yes. Fuck yes, Jane. Thank you. Thank you, thank
Yeah.
you, thank you, thank you.
Is that helpful?
So helpful. So helpful. Like I already feel how helpful that is for others too. Like I'm not as much experiencing that, right? Where I like I've learned now through my coaching experience. Like I have just to
Mm-hmm.
just stay in my own lane, right? And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of teachings will will cross paths a little bit, but you have to just stay in your lane and do what feels good to you. But I think that this is going to be like a sigh of relief for so many people thinking that they need to, like I just did that episode on morning routines, and so many girls
Oh,
message
yes. I
like,
listened to that. That was so good.
right, of just like, oh, thank God someone's giving me permission to like, oh, I can be successful and not have this 6 a.m. perfect morning routine, or I don't have to do these habits or do those habits or whatever
Mm-hmm.
Gary Vee is trying to tell you to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like just do what feels good to you. So thank you
Exactly.
so much for that. You word things so beautifully. So
Oh.
to kind of wrap things up, well, so first off, I just want to ask, is there anything else that is like coming through, any topics, anything that you just want to say before I ask my last two questions?
Hmm. Okay, I think there's just one thing coming up from what I was just saying. If you are feeling really curious about a spiritual tradition, and
Mhm.
you're afraid, because I get this question all the time. If you're afraid you're going to like appropriate someone's culture or something by burning your sage or your Palo Santo or whatever. If you're feeling that, and if you're feeling worried about that, first of all, that's great. You're super self-aware, you're not ignorant, beautiful. Go research it.
Mhm.
Go research the roots of, why do I want to do this? Like,
Mhm.
why are crystals so cool? Or like, why do I want to read tarot? Like, instead of just like getting it and getting into it, I want you to go get, and this is what I was on that coaching call, like, go get into the roots of why you're curious about it. Because that's what I did. And all it did was have the Tibetan community open their arms to me and welcome me in and
Mhm.
give me the teachings I actually needed,
Mm.
instead of just following someone on the internet who's like very vaguely discussing Buddhism. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you're interested in something, get into it. Like, don't, no more of this surface level spirituality, people. Like, no more. If you're curious about something, get into it, know about it, so that when Maddie Maple calls you and asks you to be on her podcast, you know what you're talking about.
Stop.
Like, and I think that that's something that the spiritual community needs so much right now,
Mm.
is people who are on their platform. And this is maybe why lately I'm like, you have got to start sharing more Buddhism,
Mm.
because I have put in the work.
Mhm.
And if you could see all the times I was humiliated in a monastery, or like yelled at in front of everyone at the Gompa, like, if you
Mm.
see the work that you go through to be on this path, you would have a lot more respect for it. And you might even be like, actually, no, I don't think that's the way I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think the spiritual community needs a little bit more of that reverence for tradition and going deeper into what you're curious about
Mm-hmm.
before you start sharing it and selling it, you know, in
Mm-hmm.
whatever way you feel called. So that felt important to bring up. I don't think there's
Yeah.
anything else.
No, I love that so much. I love that the surface level spirituality. It's like, and again, we're not saying your spirituality needs to look this way or that way or has to
Mhm.
be whatever, but there's so much potency in actually like diving into what sparks your curiosity. That honestly,
Mhm.
if I could just sum up manifestation, like manifesting your dream life into like
Mhm.
one little snippet, it's like focus on feeling good and then just notice what catches your curiosity and
Yes.
don't ignore it.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's
and
it.
that's like finding your way on the spiritual path. Like
Yeah.
I was looking for home. I was this lost girl in America. Like where's the Himalayas? I got lost
Yeah.
somehow and then I found my home and everything got easier after that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm, thank you for sharing that. And I hope that
Mhm.
inspires some of you to, yeah, go deeper, dive deeper. Cool. My last two little questions. I want to give you space to share like your work and where we can find you. But first, if you if little Jane at her lowest point in her darkest times was listening to the Breaking Butterfly podcast right now, what would you say
Oh
to
my
her?
god. Oh wow. I would say, Jane, if you tell the world that you're gay, everyone's still going to love you, so get over it. And I would also say the pain that you are feeling right now is your own creation. And so the joy that you're going to feel in your future when you figure out how to get the fuck out of this is also going to be your creation. And you're going to be so proud of yourself.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And then we'd love to hear, what do you have going on in your life? Can you tell us all about
What's
your,
going on?
there's so much going on. Tell us
I
about
know I
like
do a lot.
where we can find you, how we can work with you, sanctuary, the yoga,
Jane
meditation,
Aveda
everything.
one is my Instagram. Yeah, so Jane Aveda one is my Instagram page. That's pretty much like I'm an Instagram girl. I keep it all on there. I don't mess around with anything else. So if you want to follow me, you can find me there. My website's janelyon.me. That has like all of my information, all of my offerings. I teach a Zoom yoga class that is very surprisingly fun. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 a.m. Mountain Time. If you want to join that, get in touch with me. I am obviously giving Akashic Records readings and remote Reiki healings to anyone, anywhere in the world. And if you want to get out of your spiritual depression, if you want to work with someone that's going to help you get out of that hole, if you want to work with me, my program is Sanctuary. If you want to work with me, you're going to work my program. So my program is Sanctuary, and it's so special because, like I said, it starts with getting you grounded into the earth, into your reality, and then we learn about the wisdom of the chakras on our way up. And it's pretty much a super in-depth training on meditation, energy work, and the Akashic Records. We do work in the Akashic Records. We do a lot of Reiki healing, and you get lots of really fun homework from me. If
Mm.
you like Maddie's homework, you'll like my homework.
I'm
We're
like, I
similar in
want
that
Jane
way,
homework.
right? Yeah, lots of homework. Um, oh, and then I have my retreat coming up, Spacious Oasis in Northern Arizona. I only think we have a few rooms left. I don't know. Maddie might get the last room.
Uh,
So, but keep in touch for more retreat information. And then there was one more. Oh, February 20th, I'm having a Reiki self-healing workshop. So pretty much what I did with you in our first session, I'm going to offer it in like a group workshop for
ooh.
like half the price. So if you want to do like some energy work, you want to learn about how to meditate on the quantum field, you want to open up your channels and portals, you want some of this wisdom that I have like so gratefully accumulated passed on to you, check
Mhm.
out this workshop. I really haven't offered anything like this in a group setting, so I'm excited to share it with y'all. Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing.
trying
So
to
many things.
trans
Jane
I
always just is
know.
like the epitome of a healer. Just healing in some way. I'm
Mhm.
healing you this way. I'm healing you that way. Come over here. Come on this Zoom link. Come on
Right?
that Zoom link. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's really like, where are you at on your journey? Like, do you just need some yoga? Like, do you just need some yoga? Or like, are you like Maddie and you're like ready to go in your past lives and do some deep fucking work? It's like, I will meet you wherever you're at on the path and I will hold your hand and I will be your friend
People
and
just need Jane. That's it. They don't need the
just
label.
here.
Just Jane.
Exactly. I'm just here. Like, I'm so here to support you wherever you are.
Thank you so much for like opening that invitation. I feel like that invitation is so warm, and I know a bunch of my
Mhm.
girls are gonna hop on over your way, especially
Yay.
um I was gonna say, especially with my recommendation. That sounded so
So
uppity.
glad I'm getting the Maddie seal of approval.
But what I was trying to say is just like, I hope people hear my experience of working with you and realize like how
Mm.
powerful it truly is. And yeah,
Mm.
everyone needs some Jane in their life, and they're getting some Jane in their life today. And I know they're going to want even more. And thank you so much for your time and your energy, not only here on the podcast, but just with me and with others and with the world. Like, truly just healing the world. It's very special. And I feel honored to call you a friend and a podcast guest.
Oh,
I love you.
Maddie, thank you so much. You are doing it's so funny how much aligned our work is, even though it's so different.
So different.
But you are showing up so consistently for so many people, and I appreciate you so much for shining so brightly. Because you've helped me a lot. You've supported me so much, and so it just means the world to know that we can support each other, and that this show hopefully supports many people. So thank you so much, Maddie. It's really such an honor to be on your show.
Of course, I love you. Thank you. And
I love you too.
that is a wrap.
Mwah. Okay.
All right, guys, it is just me again. Hi, welcome back. How was it? Did you enjoy that? I fucking hope you like soaked all of that in. And like, this is an episode. I very rarely go back and listen to episodes that I have recorded, but this is one episode I will absolutely be listening to again, because I just love it. Like, the more Jane I can get, the better, honestly. So again, all of her information will be linked in the show notes, her Instagram. If you share this episode on your story, please tag me and her, Jane of 801, and let us know what you loved about this episode, the takeaways that you received, any breakthroughs that you had. We would absolutely love to hear. Just reach out to us on Instagram, and you guys know where to find her to work with her and be in contact with her, which is super duper exciting. She always has fun things going on. So thank you so much for listening and tuning in and being here for yourself and pressing play on this episode. It's so huge. And yeah, I fucking love you guys, and I hope you loved this episode as much as I did. And I'll catch you in my next episode. Bye.